This is a tutorial on how to use camera profiles with the FS700, how to take them from a stored location on hard disk and to bring them back to the camera and load them on. First, let me say that not all of the options that we will be talking about will be completely visible on screen, as when recording the output of the FS700 and executing some commands, when commands are executed, the camera changes its signal and thus it changes its ability to be recorded at that moment. So sometimes we'll get to a certain point and then I will have to tell you that, at this point, press execute and this will happen because it cannot be recorded from the SDI out of the camera. First thing that I would suggest that you do is to go into your camera settings and change a camera setting to something that you might never use, but something that's obvious. For instance, I never use a camera at 60i, and so I'm going to change my record setting to 60i. The reason that we're going to do this is because we want to be able to very quickly later on verify that the camera profile, which has all the correct settings, has been loaded so that I can go back to that setting that I know I have set it for something that I don't want, and if I see the correct setting later on, then I know that my camera profile has loaded correctly. So I'm going to set this for 60i and go ahead and go forward. So the next thing that we're going to do is erase the card. Now we're using SD cards that have been used by someone else. We don't know what material is on there. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is go into our menu, go to the Other section, go to the area for Media Format, and then we want to go to our memory card. And we want to say, yes, we want to reformat that memory card, and you'll hit OK, and then it will execute the command. Now, after the memory card has been reformatted, which means it's cleared of all of its previous data, what we're going to want to do is actually save a camera profile to the card right now. And what we're doing by doing this is setting up the folder structure that's so very, very important in this situation, so that the correct folders are there, so that when you bring in the already created camera profile from your hard drive, you can just put it into a correct folder structure. If you don't do this process, that folder structure does not exist. So what you're going to want to do is go into first go into the menu, into Others, go into Camera Profile, and what you're going to want to do is save. And it'll ask you if you want to do number 1, and that's fine. Let's go ahead and save number 1. Say yes, and it'll execute. So the next part is a slightly tricky part. So at this point, you have your card has been deleted, and it has been reformatted, and you have a new camera profile saved onto it. What you're going to want to do is then take your camera, attach it to the computer via USB. Now, generally, I've not had any problem. As soon as I attach it via USB, it does just kind of automatically it is automatically seen by the computer, but you may have to go into the menu Others and say USB connect and tell it and kind of prompt it to connect via USB. So you can do that. After that, it'll show up on your desktop. Right now, I am working, as you can see with the desktop, kind of with a proxy scenario. I had to turn the FS700 back in, but these folders are going to essentially act as our card from the FS700. All the file structure will be exactly the same. So I'm going to be able to navigate to the card, and as I navigate to the card on this particular OS, and it'll vary from OS to OS, I will have to click on the main file there, and I'll have to kind of do a right click or control click to show package contents from the drop down menu. As soon as you show package contents, then you have actually additional subfolders that weren't obvious when you first kind of clicked on the disk that is in the camera right now. So as soon as you show package contents, then you can see that there is a Sony folder, and within that there is settings, and within that there is a camera profile. .dat, right? So that is our camera profile setting that controls all of the camera basic information and all the picture profile stuff. It's all saved under one camera profile, right? So that is the file that we are going to want to replace. So I've put on the server under my name in Bishop, so you can go to Bishop and then my name and then go to FS700. There are 2 camera profiles. One is for the regular FS700 and one is for the one that has had the firmware upgrade, number 2. They're not cross-compatible, so you have to know which camera that you're using. You can literally just take that profile that I've created, drag it back to the card that is currently in the camera, right? And it'll ask if you want to overwrite the file. Yes, you want to overwrite the file with this older file, and that's fine. So you've dragged from the server to the camera and replace the camera profile that you had written just a few minutes ago with a corrected camera profile that will have everything essentially more probably in tune with what you want. You know, it has Cine 2 as its gamma, it has 2398 1080 as its record format. It has a lot of the other settings kind of already kind of ready to go for you. You don't have to worry that somebody's left it in some type of crazy position, right? So you've taken it from the server, put it onto the camera, replaced, everything's good. At this point, you can disconnect the camera, and basically from the rest of the time we're going to be doing things just on the camera. So it's just that one little moment that we had to interface the camera with the computer to replace the file. Now lastly, what you're going to do is, now that you have disconnected the camera from the computer, you're going to go back into the menu, go back down to the other section, go back to camera profile, and this time, as opposed to saying save, we're actually going to say load, and it'll say, oh, do you really want to load the profile that is saved on the card? And you can, it'll give you the prompt of, blah blah 001.dat, and you say, yes, actually I would really like to load the profile that is on the card to the camera right now, because right now we have a profile on the card, but it isn't loaded to the camera yet. So we say yes, it'll execute. That part is not visible on screen right now because of the camera recording issues, but it'll go through its process, it'll execute, and it has been loaded. So how do you verify that it's been loaded? Aha, that's where we get back to the original concept where we started this video, because we went through and set a setting to something unusual that we don't normally use. In my instance, we had a setting for 60i. I don't want to use 60i. My camera profile is already set up for 2398p, right? So at this point, after I've loaded it, I can go back into my menu and I can go to my record set section and I can see what the setting is in my record set section. If it's still 60i, somewhere along the process I've done something incorrect and my camera profile is not loaded. But if it's reflecting 2398p, which it should, then everything has gone fine with this process, and I know that all the settings that I've loaded from my camera profile on the computer have loaded eventually to the card, and I can go forward with recording and know the parameters of all the details of all the settings for the camera, and that they are going to be for my specification. Hopefully that gives you a quick little overview of how to get a file from your computer to your camera and load it to the camera, and vice versa. You can also take that same file in that same folder structure and then move it to your desktop. So say you didn't like the camera profile that already existed, you go through and you detail all the settings of both the menu and the picture profile, and you say save. You can take that saved picture profile and then actually move it to your desktop so that you can have something personalized exactly to what you want as you're using the camera. All right, that's it for now. Thanks, guys.